Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that Disney has had the absolute worst year throughout all of 2023, not just because of their decade low with the Disney stock, as well as the ongoing box office failures throughout all of this year, and let's not forget about merchandise failing with Star Wars and even elements of Marvel out there as well. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about actress Rachel Zegler has a lot to do with the ongoing drama surrounding Snow White, the live-action remake, which, by the way, we already talked about how Disney is already dialing back on 45% of their budget of the marketing campaign for Snow White, which, by the way, is going to be counterproductive. It's going to result in less exposure, less ads on television and in front of other movies and theaters, stuff like that. That's going to only hurt them in the long run. Now, we know that this movie has gone over budget. It is roughly over $310 million that went into this movie, not just because of the high production value sets, apparently, but as well as all of the extra scenes that they had filmed that went into the complete trash. Now, we know that there's a lot of things happening right now with the whole Zegler fiasco, alright? We know that a lot of studios abandoned her. This had to do with Universal, DreamWorks, Warner Brothers, and of course Disney to top all things off, just to name a few there. She essentially is blacklisted throughout much of Hollywood. Maybe not to the same exact level as Amber Heard, but she's getting there. She's getting very close, so to speak. Now, this is what makes matters even worse, is exactly what Rachel Zegler is doing behind closed doors. Now, with actress Rachel Zegler endlessly caught up in the drama for Snow White and only making matters worse, one major development has to do with her actions toward the general public and major Hollywood studios dropping her from many roles due to Snow White's failure. As it turns out, Rachel Zegler and her team, along with supporters Peter Dinklage and Jennifer Lawrence, are already finished with their preparation of making numerous statements to address the ongoing Snow White backlash and the unfairness from the general public in Hollywood for dropping Zegler from multiple roles. As it turns out, Zegler is already combating against studios like Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, and DreamWorks, all of which dropped big roles for Zegler after learning that she was nothing more than box office poison. Zegler and her team are also refusing to take part in a planned presentation for the world premiere of Snow White 24 that initially involved Rachel Zegler. Zegler and her team have also created a full-fledged strategy to reinstate Zegler's roles at WB, Universal, and DreamWorks, along with Disney. Now guys, let me say one thing about this before I get to the next major piece about this development that I think is even all the more revealing. The fact that we have someone like Zegler and her team, such as her manager and agent, and even supporters like Dinklage and Lawrence, trying to reinstate her roles for those Hollywood studios is just ludicrous. Now, you guys may be wondering to yourselves, why is Peter Dinklage so caught up in defending Rachel Zegler, you may ask? Well, he became a very dear friend of hers when they were working on the Hunger Games prequel, alright? So, they're very much close friends, and it's kind of ironic because Peter Dinklage really impacted Snow White, the live-action remake, after he said what he said back in February of 2022, getting enraged about Disney really trying to hire dwarfs to portray the 7 dwarfs in Snow White, and he was just absolutely enraged about that. He had a lot of issues with that, and as it turned out, we talked about this bombshell, is that he really wanted a role with Disney for Snow White as one of the 7 dwarfs, and they shot him down. And that's why he opened his mouth against Disney. That is exactly why he also lost a lot of Marvel roles that he was supposed to obtain after his big cameo in Infinity War. Now, here's the other problem at stake here, is that we know that Zegler is literally losing her mind here. I mean, she is just not able to grasp what's at hand here and what really has happened to her career in Hollywood. She literally prematurely destroyed her acting career before it really even took off. And you know what? I always found it kind of crazy why she was getting all these roles after she had so many box office failures. Just for starters, we already know that Snow White is a box office flop. That's just a given. But to top it all off, she already actually failed with West Side Story and Fury of the Gods, the Shazam sequel that also failed at the box office. If Hunger Games does not meet expectations for WB, that's even going to be a bigger, L for Rachel Zegler. No doubt about that. Now, this is where it gets even more intense. However, there is little to no hope with that approach by her team. Even Peter Dinklage and his team are set to defend Zegler, and he will be making an upfront statement about his disgust with the general public and the backlash against not just Zegler as Snow White, but for the magical creatures in the upcoming film. Zegler is reportedly eager and awaiting the SAG strike to conclude to release these statements to the public that will wreak havoc on Disney and the other studios. This is further proof of how egotistical Zegler really is in the Hollywood bubble. Rachel is also demanding Disney to allow her to have the freedom to say what she wants to say in the press interviews to the lead up of the release of Snow White. Something that is the only connection left for Rachel with Disney right now is to promote the film. However, she also made an ultimatum that she will only promote it if Disney gives her more freedom on what she is allowed to say on camera, and there are negotiations being planned out for that with Zegler and her agent and manager right now with the Disney heads. So basically what's going on right now, these negotiations on Rachel really trying to get Disney to give her the freedom to say what she wants to say, is that she will be able to pass these down to Disney and she will be able to get approved on what she wants to say to the correspondents interviewing her about Snow White in the coming weeks, as well as in the coming months for the world premiere of Snow White. Now, this is a bigger problem. This just goes to show you that they really are trying to go the extra mile to get Rachel Zegler's roles reinstated within Hollywood. And it's also further proof that Hollywood, does not want anything to do with Zegler. I mean, they've realized that she's box office poison just as much as Phoebe Waller-Bridges, or Amber Heard, or let alone even Brie Larson, They're right up there on the same level. We know that others out there also can join that list of what I call the insufferables. And to the end of this time, we know that Disney is going to just keep dipping and dipping with the Disney stock if they keep embracing these failures. If I were Disney, what I would do is I would backgirl this project altogether and call it a day, and just put it in the rearview mirror and just drive along and focus on a different project. That's what they need to do right now. But they're not going to do that. They want to really make this movie work for themselves, to push their world agenda and to really get the message out there. That's what it's really all about at the end of the day. Now, we know that Bob Iger has gotten quite furious about the fan reaction or the fan backlash over Snow White. He has made numerous comments about that, saying how it's nothing more than a different iteration of the character, and he doesn't understand why there's so much backlash. And he said something similar with The Little Mermaid 2023. I mean, the guy's just obnoxious. That's why I call him Bob Iger. But anyway, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.
From night to moon we hear